goddamn thing. What is this?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here. If you haven't already, please silence your cell phone. All of the photos that are on the screen we'll be sending to your news desks immediately afterward. Okay, we're good to go.
Everyone ready? Okay, all right. I'll be reading some remarks in English and then in Spanish, and then after conclude with that, I'll be calling up Lieutenant Wheeler to also speak about a few more details to this. But good afternoon, and thanks for joining us today for this important announcement. I'm Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, and I'll also be joined by Assistant Chief Philip Vasquez, who oversees our Detentions Command, as well as Lieutenant Jay Wheeler from our Detentions Criminal Investigations and Security Division, along with many of our teammates from that division. In March, I created our agency's first ever Detentions Criminal Investigations and Security Division. Their job is to fight crime inside our jail, with a special focus on restricting the flow of illegal contraband, particularly dangerous narcotics. This was because our jail medical clinic was seeing more and more people requiring emergency treatment for what seemed to be life-threatening overdoses. Some of these overdoses perhaps fatal. Their work is part of a multi-pronged strategy to make the jail safer for the people who live and work there. We've also purchased 3 dog-sniffing dogs to work exclusively in the jail. We've begun photocopying incoming mail and documents to prevent the introduction of drug-soaked papers into the jail, and instituted more thorough screening practices for all employees and visitors. And these are some steps that we took because in talking to colleagues from around the nation in different prisons and also county jails, we understand that this continues to be a growing epidemic in many places of corrections throughout our country. Recent searches, in fact, there was an article today by the Marshall Project, as well as facilities in North Carolina, even our state prison system, are all grappling with similar issues. So in July, our Detentions Criminal Investigations and Security Division developed evidence that an attorney was possibly supplying sheets of paper laced with ecstasy and synthetic marijuana to people in jail during in-person visits. The team conducted an in-depth investigation that culminated in a warrant being issued on November 9th, charging defense attorney Ronald Henry Lewis, age 77, with a felony charge of bringing a prohibited substance into a correctional facility. When Mr. Lewis visited the jail last Friday, November 17th, our team was ready. They arrested Mr. Lewis and found him carrying multiple sheets of paper contaminated with a substance that is now being tested to confirm whether it's indeed an illegal narcotic. I want to thank our team for their phenomenal work, which is ongoing. They will continue following evidence wherever it leads because we are determined to stop the flow of these dangerous drugs into our jail. While this first major arrest happens to be an attorney, we are not cynical or naive enough to think that this one arrest will solve our jail drug problem. Anyone coming into our jail, whether it be one of our contractors, our own staff, everyone is subject to more intense scrutiny. And want to also point out that the reason this is so critical and important is because we, in our jail, we often see people that are often addicted to drugs. They get incarcerated for a number of different charges, perhaps not even related to their addiction. But while they're in here, and especially we've all heard and known about the long stays in the county jail system compared to other parts of the state or country, then obviously it's almost a forced detox, if you will. And when they consume any type of narcotics, either here or when they return out to the free world, it could be very deadly for anyone. So that's something that, again, we're trying to keep a close eye on. And want to also just make a plea to everyone who has a friend or loved one in our jail. Do not attempt to mail them illegal narcotics. Do not let them talk you into sending money to anyone via any kind of cash transaction software or any other service. These dangerous narcotics are killing people and it needs to stop. Briefly in Spanish. Buenas tardes y gracias por acompañarnos. Soy el alguacil del condado Harris, Ed González. En marzo creé la primera División de Seguridad e Investigaciones Criminales de Detenciones de nuestra agencia. Su trabajo consiste en luchar contra la delincuencia dentro de nuestra cárcel, centrándose en restringir el flujo de contrabando ilegal, en particular de narcóticos peligrosos. Esto se debió a que la clínica de nuestra cárcel estaba atendiendo cada vez a más personas que requerían tratamiento de urgencia por sobredosis. Alguna de estas sobredosis es posible que hasta fueron fatales. Su trabajo forma parte de una estrategia que incluye varias estrategias para hacer la cárcel más segura para las personas que viven y trabajan en ella. También hemos adquirido 3 perros detectores de drogas para que trabajen exclusivamente en la cárcel. Hemos empezado a tomar copias del correo y los documentos que entran a la cárcel para evitar que los papeles tengan drogas. Y se han establecido prácticas de control más exhaustivas para todos los empleados y visitantes. En julio, nuestra División de Investigaciones Criminales y Seguridad de Detenciones desarrolló pruebas de que un abogado estaba suministrando hojas de papel impregnadas de éxtasis y marihuana sintética a personas de la cárcel durante las visitas en persona. El equipo llevó a cabo una investigación muy larga que culminó con la emisión de una orden de arresto el 9 de noviembre por que se acusaba el abogado defensor Ronald Lewis, de 77 años de edad, de un delito grave de introducción de sustancias prohibidas a una cárcel. Cuando el señor Lewis visitó la cárcel el viernes 17 de noviembre, nuestro equipo estaba preparado. Detuvieron a Lewis y le encontraron portando múltiples hojas de papel contaminadas con una sustancia que ahora está siendo analizada para confirmar si se trata de alguna sustancia ilegal. Quiero agradecer a nuestro equipo por su trabajo. Continuarán siguiendo las pruebas porque estamos decididos a detener el flujo de estas drogas peligrosas en nuestra cárcel. Aunque este primer arresto es el de un abogado, no pensamos que este arresto resolverá todo el problema de las drogas en nuestra cárcel. Cualquiera que entra a nuestra cárcel, incluyendo nuestros propios empleados o otras personas que visitan a la cárcel por cualquier razón, están sujetos a un escrutinio más intenso. Y a las personas que tal vez tengan a un amigo o un ser querido en nuestra cárcel, les suplicamos que por favor no intenten de enviarles narcóticos ilegales por correo. Estos narcóticos peligrosos están matando gente y eso se tiene que parar. Y estamos dispuestos a poner cargos o arrestar a cualquier persona que podamos investigar y probar que están haciendo esto. I now would like to ask Lieutenant Wheeler to provide more information on his team's work. Lieutenant?
Thank you, Sheriff. I'm Lieutenant Jay Wheeler with the Criminal Investigations and Security Division. I'm going to say a few words about our unit, and I'll provide additional details on the case. As the Sheriff said, the Criminal Investigation and Security Division was created to combat crime inside the jails, our overdoses, our narcotics trafficking. The Criminal Investigations and Security Division was created with personnel with experience in the Violent Crimes Unit, Homicide Unit, Internal Affairs, Patrol Bureau, Criminal Justice Command, and other specialized units within the department. The Criminal Investigations and Security Division is entrusted with ensuring the safety of our staff and the community we serve. We are dedicated to responding promptly to potential security threats and conducting thorough investigations. Our primary focus is establishing a secure and structured environment for all individuals within our facilities and investigating criminal activity both inside and outside the facilities. In June of this year, in response to 2 inmate deaths that were possibly overdose related, our unit began investigating information that illegal narcotics were being introduced into the jails in the form of paper that was sprayed or dipped with a chemical compound. In early July, the unit received information that an attorney was bringing illegal narcotics to several inmates inside the jail. During the investigation, we determined that an attorney would visit inmates and provide them with sheets of paper laced with narcotics. The laced sheets of paper were often disguised as legal mail or other forms of legal documents. Inmates would pay the attorney $250 to $500 to bring in the laced papers. After an extensive investigation, our unit identified Mr. Lewis as the attorney who was bringing in the narcotics. Mr. Lewis would visit the jails and request to see inmates for attorney visits and would pass the inmates sheets of paper laced with narcotics. Inmates were searched before the attorney visit and were searched immediately after. On numerous occasions, the inmates being visited by Mr. Lewis were found to have sheets of paper laced with narcotics. Mr. Lewis visited 14 inmates from July 2023 until November 2023. During the investigation, approximately 154 sheets of paper believed to be laced with narcotics have been confiscated. On Friday, November 17th, Mr. Lewis arrived at the 701 jail facility to visit an inmate and was taken into custody. During the arrest, Mr. Lewis had 11 sheets of paper in his possession believed to be laced with narcotics. Mr. Lewis was interviewed and subsequently charged with 2 counts of prohibited substances in a correctional facility. We're currently working with the Texas Rangers to determine if any of the narcotics introduced in the jail by Mr. Lewis contributed to the death of any inmate. This is an ongoing investigation. I want to say the sheriff is serious about the safety, and it's a top priority for the inmates and the staff inside the jail.
Thank you. I'll open it up for any questions.
Recently restricted paper from attorneys to inmates. Did that come as a direct result of this?
Not direct. I think it's, we've been reviewing a number of different strategies. We know we have different entry points, including our own personnel. We have other contractors that enter, as well as attorneys as well. And we've been aware of this for a while, that this may be another possible, obviously, entry point of getting contraband into our facility. And so we just felt that it was necessary to start reviewing all our protocols and processes, including those that involve attorneys as well.
Can you talk about that right now? So right now there's no paper between attorney and how does that work?
LT, do we still have some? I think we still have some. We are moving to a new system with a new vendor that we're currently working on completing that transition to that new system. It's kind of a best practice from other facilities for a lot. It goes digital. Correct. It goes digital. So a lot of the mail will go from the traditional paper-based mail that may arrive for defendants that may be incarcerated, and instead we'll go to a more digital system, as well as that's why we're also doing copies as well. But that's not an overnight kind of turnkey operation. So while our team is finalizing those final steps with that vendor, we hope to get in place soon, and that will help alleviate a lot of it, because with the volume of people, our overcrowding issue's been well documented. We deal with a lot of volume that comes into our facility, and not only us, a lot of systems across the country are grappling with the very same thing.
You've spoken about stricter security measures before, tightened screening process and whatnot. I guess, how does the jail allow this to happen? How did it happen?
Yeah, well, we don't allow. I mean, I think the issue is that there is obviously there's greater leeway when you're talking about an attorney, for example, that has to interact and engage with their clients, and so much of that communication is protected, and so we have to strike that fine balance between allowing that to happen, and then again with the volume of people that we come in. I mean, it could be a paper that's laced with something, or it could be in the form of a different substance. So it's not something that we prohibit. It's obviously against the law, and so we're going to continue to review everything as we've been doing to see, can we continue to tighten things up without slowing down business that has to occur. And so that's what we're going to just continue to review, and if they are found doing this, whether it be an employee, whether it be an attorney, or any member of the public, they are subject to be charged, and it carries very serious penalties.
Sheriff, what are you doing to make sure that the documents from attorneys remains private between the defendant and the attorney? And because state law requires that These communications are privileged and nobody should be reading them or looking at them.
Yeah. Philip, do you want to, Chief Vasquez will talk a little bit about that.
So we're we're not interfering with anything like that. So what we've made available, if attorneys are coming on site, we've made a copy machine available for them. They can make copies, they can handle it, and we've given them envelopes. They can secure it, and then take it up to the floors. So they have access. What we're asking them to do is just process it with paperwork, paper that we provide. Any legal mail that's coming in, we're following all the federal and state statutes to process that in view of the inmates at all times. So we're going above and beyond of what the federal and state statutes require.
And who's handling the copy machine? Is it the attorneys or the members of your staff?
If they come on site, we're having it available for the attorneys to make the photocopies. They can put it in the envelopes that we're providing. They can do that all themselves.
And when was the copy machine installed?
I'm sorry?
When was the copy machine installed?
No, the sheriff's office has always had copy machines.
Sí, podría hacer una pregunta en español. Exactamente cómo el señor Lewis burlaba las medidas de seguridad de la entrada para meter la droga.
Sí, es que los abogados históricamente pueden obviamente tener intercambio con sus clientes, es parte de su derecho, y podían tener ese intercambio de documentos directamente con sus clientes durante sus visitas, porque los están presentando. Es una parte clave de la representación en nuestro proceso de juicio y proceso criminal, y así es como lo estaban transmitiendo históricamente.
Pero no, cuando él entra en los centros, en las instalaciones de la cárcel, no se le somete a ningún control, puede llevar lo que quiera, armas, drogas.
Históricamente, he's asking, Chief, about attorneys historically when they come in, how thorough of a search is conducted of attorneys historically, let's say of their person or bringing in weapons or anything like that.
So they go through the metal detectors.
Go to the mic.
Sorry. They go through the metal detectors, all the regular processes. What's really protected from the legal aspect and all government officials that come in are the papers. So if they brought things in their briefcases, we would do a cursory search, but not reading any documents. And so I think that that's what they exploited, or this individual may have exploited.
Entonces los restos sí pasan por un detector de metal para tratar de obviamente prevenir la entrada de armas.
A partir de ahora, los perros o otras medidas de seguridad sean impuestas los papeles también de los abogados.
Are the drug
dogs.
detection dogs also reviewing paperwork, or mainly the facility?
They will. They'll be stationed at different times through the thing. So if they're there at the time, then they can be used for that purpose.
Pero eso va a cambiar pronto, en algunos meses, cuando tengamos el nuevo servicio que vamos a introducir, donde todo se va a hacer fuera de nuestro complejo y van a ser por otras medidas más profesionales, donde nunca va a entrar ningún documento realmente a nuestras instalaciones.
Una pregunta, ¿sabemos cuántas personas han fallecido de sobredosis en el último año?
No tengo ese número directamente, porque se toma tiempo a veces las autopsias y todo para verificar, pero sí pensamos que han fallecido algunos por sobredosis de alguna forma u otra.
Sheriff Gonzalez, you mentioned that the evidence was developed in July. Why was the arrest made on Friday? I know we've had a few inmate deaths in between that time.
Well, I mean, again, I think our team wanted to do their due diligence and be thorough. I mean, it's a very unique situation, and it's when you're talking about someone that's entrusted in protecting, the laws and being a key actor in the criminal justice system, and also the testing part of it, to make sure what we had with the previous cases, it's not something that we knew immediately. And then also just kind of continuing the follow-up investigations, which took a little bit of while to us to firm up our probable cause, to make sure we reached that threshold and had all the testing back and everything. So Lieutenant Wheeler, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit of just kind of, y'all been working on this case from when y'all first kind of developed your early suspicions?
Yes, we started working on this case a few months ago, and like I said, it takes time with the lab results, the documents, getting those back, and once we have all those, we have to actually, it's a little more difficult. There's a lot of extra legwork that goes into it. Sorry, no?
What pointed you to Mr. Ronald Lewis? Is there something specific inmate make an outcry, or?
So we did receive information. We received several tips from various sources within the jail, and they pointed us in that direction. We conducted numerous interviews, and we were able to identify him as our person of interest.
Are other charges pending on any of the inmates that were, you know, the way to get that in?
Yes, we have several other cases that are pending right now. We are awaiting lab results and other.
Sheriff, what do you say to viewers who's going to view this tonight and say that this is somewhat pretty ironic? Is this an embarrassment to you, to your jail and to your system?
You know, to the public, I want them to know that we're trying to do everything we can to make sure we secure our jail, not only for those that have to be here as defendants, but also the ones that work here, and that, as we've mentioned, we're going to leave no stone unturned, whether it be working closer with Harris Center or our health provider, or correction, our mental health provider, or Harris Health, our medical provider, as well as tighten up our own security protocols. We knew that obviously during COVID, operations were turned upside down with obviously a lot of the changes and limitations and things like that. And then once we could kind of start ramping up, and then understanding many times, because one thing I want to be very clear whenever there's a death in custody is the investigation itself is led through an outside agency. That's the way the state has it set up. So many times we can't speak a lot up to it like we normally would on other investigations, like when we're out on a homicide scene or things like that, because it's being led by another agency. So we have to kind of defer and let them take the lead on that investigative work. But also challenge the team to make sure that we were looking internally at protocols, because many times there's not anything nefarious that may have happened or any of the physical interaction that may have occurred between any member of our staff and the inmates, and many were still passing out or getting into some kind of medical crisis. Others, we are well aware, have long-term illnesses, are in very critical type situations, and eventually during long stays here, their health just, you know, they have very chronic, serious issues. So we're aware of those medical conditions. But with some of the others, we knew that similar to other jails and talking to other colleagues, that they are seeing an uptick in overdoses in their facilities. So it's something that we wanted to do. So we want to say that, you know, we're going to continue to raise the bar and do everything we can to make sure that we're keeping a safe facility as safe as possible. But it also takes reminding people not to consume anything that's provided in an illicit manner, or to be trying to encourage others in the outside world to be sending illegal substances into a jail. That's why it's a crime. That's why the law exists against this. That's why the state's grappling with this and many others, because people are staying in jail, they're staying longer, and sometimes they're you know, still consuming drugs. Addiction doesn't stop sometimes when they leave the free world and enter a corrections facility.
Why is it believed that there are more attorneys involved, and how many attorneys are apparently involved in this?
Do we know? I don't know if it's specific attorneys. Maybe there may be others, but we're going to make sure we're investigating everyone and any other cases that lead. Some are legitimate leads, some may not be, but we're going to look at everything. Lieutenant, do you want to?
Like, are there other people involved in this?
So the sheriff has, as he spoke earlier, he created an entire division to address this. Criminal investigations within the jail, it's one of the first in the nation. We do believe there are other attorneys that are involved. It is under investigation. We can't comment on it because it is an active investigation, but we do have other investigations that are pending that do involve attorneys.
Separately or acting together?
Separately.
Is it believed to be widespread, like a lot of attorneys, or is it pretty isolated, like half a dozen or so?
We can't comment on that right now.
Yeah, we'll just say, look, I mean, there's incredible attorneys out there that uphold their oaths and work very hard to take care of their clients and make sure that they're representing them effectively. You know, but with everything, just like we've said of our own personnel in the past, I mean, there's always going to be those that choose illegal ways of doing things or go outside the lines. And if they are, it doesn't matter who they are. We're going to make sure we investigate it fully and hold them accountable. And no one's immune from these, whether again it be our own staff or it could be a contractor that comes in. It could be family members. It could be attorneys as well, obviously. So we don't think it's necessarily widespread, but it does exist, and it's unfortunate.
This individual is 77 years old. We believe that this may have been happening long before we started the investigation into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible it could have happened before, and there's other cases that we don't know. And so if there is information out there, we ask the public if they've had interactions with this attorney. We'd like to learn about those other cases as well, as to how far back it may have gone. Obviously, I believe he's been in practice for quite a long time, and we believe that it's possible that other attorneys could be doing the same thing. And we just want to send a very loud message that, again, we're going to be looking at everything and everyone, and no one should take advantage of someone that may be being incarcerated away from their loved ones, and then they're introducing drugs to them while they're incarcerated. It could be a deadly outcome.
Does this
Yeah.
extend to the?
Somebody else had okay.
I was going to say, what type of money are we talking about? Just an example.
I think he mentioned it. It could be several $100s. Up to 500 on transaction. Again, that's one. I don't know what the market is. It just depends on supply and demand and what others may be charging. But again, we've talked to colleagues all around the country, and this stuff, unfortunately, is happening more and more. It seems that especially with opioid abuse and things happening in the free world, no place is immune from it. I mean, and we see a lot of it inside our own walls as well, unfortunately.
Last question, please.
Does your office have reason to believe that any of the 3 jail deaths last week were overdose related? Preliminarily?
Yes, we do believe that preliminary. We do have reason to believe that narcotics or some type of illicit substance was used in one of them. Again, we'll have to wait for autopsies and let the investigation continue. I'm not sure what agency is leading that particular. The Texas Rangers are leading that one, but we believe that it could be tied to an illicit substance of some kind.
To this case, Sheriff?
I don't know about. No, I don't think it's related to this.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Gracias.
The people that Mr. Lewis was supplying, were they the end users, or were they distributing to other people within the jail? So I didn't know whether he was, the supplier or the middleman,